So you step back into that life of drugs and
Yes.
crime, and then a childhood friend comes to visit you one day,
Yes.
and he gave you a challenge that hit you like a 2x4. What was it?
Yes. Well, Sid, the thing is, I knew my friend. I knew something was different. He had got saved, and I didn't know what that really fully meant. So he came to my house one day, and he read to me 2 Timothy chapter 3, when it speaks about in the end times there shall be perilous times. In the last days, men shall be boasters, braggers, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, etc. So he asked me, he said, show me in Scripture, in that text, what describes you. All of a sudden, Sid, I kid you not, electrical currents came from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. I began to weep uncontrollably, and I was the whole chapter 3. And I began to weep and shake on the floor for several hours, and led to several days.
And so you became a real believer.
I became a real believer.
And then your friend calls you up because you're a little short money.
Right.
And says, I have a gift for you. I want to give you a gift. So what are you thinking?
Well, all of a sudden I'm thinking, hey, he's about to bless me with some money. This Jesus stuff really works, you know? So, you know, I'm used to being a hustler, a drug dealer. So I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to get this guy out some money, you know? So all of a sudden he took me to his house, and all of a sudden he began to pray for me. And I closed my eyes, and he said, just receive. And he said, just receive. And as he kept saying, just receive, all of a sudden I felt this overwhelming heat over my body, and I began to babble this verbiage that I never heard before.
Had you ever heard supernatural languages, tongues before?
I never heard of it. I grew up Baptist, Sid. So this was a whole brand new dynamic for me. So when I began to speak in these tongues, I was like, I didn't know what I had received. So when I got back home that night, and fluent languages began to come out from me, Sid, and I began to pray in tongues, and every time I prayed, this overwhelming heat would come upon me.
Would it come upon your hands, your whole body?
It would come upon from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. I mean, I would literally be shaking.
Now, I read in the Bible about the baptism of the Spirit, but I also read about the baptism of the Spirit and fire.
Yes, Sid. Yes, Sid. Well, see, the thing is, right after that encounter, Sid, everyone I would pray for would get instantly delivered, would get instantly saved. I mean, conviction will fall upon them.
But before that, that degree wasn't happening.
It never happened to me before. I mean, people at my job was getting saved. My managers were afraid to write me up when I'm late because they were afraid God was going to get them.